Welcome, my friends. Now, this is the question number uh, question number 12 on the arising of suffering. Yep. So this is the cause of arising, which is the second noble truth, which is the second noble truth is Buddha says suffering arises due to craving. Yep. So craving, what is this craving? Now, this craving is not craving for Chinese takeaways, craving for some kind of a five-star dinner, a luxury, uh, let's say, holidays. Craving can be, it has got a breadth and width that expands the entire spectrum of our existence, our experience. So craving in a very, very gross form, I mentioned craving for some spicy food, craving for luxurious stuff. That is a very, very gross, mundane type of craving, and that craving is not what the Buddha's uh, elaboration of this second noble truth is. Buddha is talking about the craving to the microscopic, the craving to the atomic level within this observation of mind at the very, very uh, fundamental level, at this root level, then this suffering, the concept called suffering, that unease, that unsatisfactoriness, that disharmony, that discord with whatever is being experienced, that is not agreeable. And that is called suffering. Yeah. So suffering is uh, it is a state of mind which is not at ease, which is not accepting the reality in the present moment, and it is always either wanting it too much, that means jumping around and being excited, and other extreme is to frighten and freak out due to aversion, due to dislike. And there are another craving, another manifestation of craving is what is called the disinterest, or what is called tendency to ignore, or tendency to be indifferent. So these are the three attitudes: liking, disliking, and showing indifference. These are the three attitudes that can be tested at the very gross level. And you know that people people react to the situation in these three manners in vast majority of cases. And that does apply to our very, very subtle point in a meditation. You see a subtle hint of uh, phenomena that is just bubbling up. It is just becoming at the atomic level. It's so subtle. And your mind, your experience is not liking. Why? Why it has to come this way? I am in so blissful state of jhana. I am in, my mind is so comfortable. My mind is so blissful. It is so comfortable. so blissful, and you notice that there is some attention, mine is flickering. This attention is pointing that why it has to come to manifest in this moment where I'm enjoying all this bliss. Yeah. So that is a craving in a very subtle form. And that is the craving for Buddha calls there are three types of craving. Craving for sensual pleasure, which is the gross type of craving. And another craving is craving for uh, becoming, craving for wanting something to be certain way, and craving for what is called extermination, craving for non-existence, the craving to be annihilated, to be, like people don't like to exist. They want to end the existence. So all three types of craving are reaction of your mind. That mind is not at peace. The mind is not accepting the reality of the present moment. And that is a state of agitation. That is a state of not violence, it's a state of angst, state of vibration, shall I say, state of discomfort. And that craving is what uh, makes this mind successively become proliferated, become uh, dragged into the sort of fueling that process of clinging, the conceptual proliferation, creating that sort of a stance or philosophies or various uh, argument, various types of dogmas and extreme uh, such extreme cases. Yeah, you can see that fundamentalist ideas do arise from this craving. At the other extreme of the spectrum, that you can see that state of war, state of ethnic violence, state of genocide, state of kind of continental war, destruction, world war. These are the extremity of the craving, the state of mind, and it all comes from one person's or a group of people's thought process, and that is the spectrum of craving. And these are evident in everyday life. These are evident in all nations worldwide. And these are the things I don't need to show anybody, because anybody who is politically or is generally aware, they can pick it up. So that is not my kind of intention here. I don't want to show something, all this kind of mundane manifestation of craving. What I'm talking about, that very, very subtle craving that one directly observes in the practice of refining this state of mind. Yeah. So those who have practiced some meditation, those who have gone to a state of little bit of comfort and freedom from distraction, and those who have experienced at least the first jhana, they know what I'm talking about. That state of mind, that state of jhana, arises when you have let go of sensual craving, very, very gross type of craving, the sensual craving, that craving in a form of anger, some sort of uh, dislike, ill will, restlessness, sloth and torpor, and doubt. When these distractions, you have calmed down, you have settled them for good by not feeding those sort of distractions with your attention, but letting them be, just relaxing. Let them arise and cease. Don't worry about them. Let them arise, or they will just arise and cease. Don't worry about that. Your objective is to pull your attention towards something wholesome. Keep your mind, your attention to the wholesome. And when you are allowed that process of funneling your attention to the wholesome and releasing your attention from the also unwholesome, then your mind will become unified. That unified mind would be settled in that sort of comforting and very spacious and distraction free state of mind, which is a reverse process of craving. Yeah. Now, I forgot to mention this is question number 12. In this section on the arising of suffering, and the question is, how does craving arise? This is a very profound question. How does the craving arises? It's not easy to answer. It took me quite a lot of time to actually write this in my outline to see, if I'm capable of answering this question or not, because it's not easy to answer. How craving arises? How? Show me how. Yeah. So it's not easy question, and I'm not talking about those craving for Chinese takeaways or craving for luxury cars. I'm talking about a very, very specific type of craving. That is why it is so difficult. So now how craving arises, we have to have that sort of a mind. If somebody is, if you are looking for some kind of, let's say for example, you want to identify some underlying process in a highly noisy environment, extremely loud and noisy, and you have to find out the conversation who was talking about some specific topic. How do you find out? So you're in that kind of noisy environment to pick up that sort of very, very faint voice of such a conversation. It's not easy. So we have, and our task right now is that craving is so subtle, so small, and we are in this sort of very, very loud and noisy, very agitated state of mind. How somebody with such an agitated mind, who doesn't have no who has no idea that the mind is that depth of mind, to pick up so subtle from the depth of mind from somebody who is completely immersed in this noisy, and that mind is completely agitated. How can somebody answer that question? They can't simply, yeah. So to be able to answer that question, somebody need to find the root of all this phenomena. How? So it's not somebody with that sort of agitated, very, very gross and unpreoccupied mind who can find the answer to the root of cause for craving to arise. So it needs to be answered by somebody who has seen the peaceful state of mind, the mind that is not agitated, the mind that is at peace, the mind that is pure, the mind that is not that is free from this craving, this state of gross hindrances. So only after finding that state of mind, finding that sort of very, very clean slate, that very pristine state, then you will be able to pick up the signal, even the sharpest and even the faintest signal that lands in your experience, because you have purified mind to be so clear, so observant. Now, anything that lands into your experiential domain of your mind is observant, your mind is clear, your mind is free of all these hindrances. And whenever subtle distraction, subtle craving that arises in the mind, because of your observation, your awareness, your clarity of your mind, you know, mind is now, mind is not at ease. There is some craving. And that is how the mind, through the practice, you will be able to see this is the mind that is completely pure, and this mind is all of the sudden, out of nowhere, out of blue, out of something, you didn't know how it arose. There was nothing, and suddenly there is some agitation, certain vibrance. Yeah. So you will, it is a training of your mind. How sharp your mindfulness is, how uh, skilled you are to pick up that arising. Yeah, it's a process of arising, how it arose, and whether you were observant or enough or not. So what happens is that when somebody is practicing, the process of observation, they will generally, when they're in the beginning of the practice, they will only notice they know that they probably experience that sort of bliss of letting go of hindrances. They have managed to, land into the jhana experience of that comfortable and blissful state of mind, and they start to observe the mind. They stand in that bliss, they enjoy the bliss, and all of a sudden they can see there is a vibration. They were they were enjoying the bliss, and they can see the vibration. That is a craving, but they were a bit. Their mindfulness was a little lapsed, a little bit, because their the sharpness of their mindfulness was bit delayed. They missed that. Their mindfulness was somewhere else. They were looking at bliss instead of the state of mind. And that is what the Buddha's uh, path is. Mindfulness is that kind of a gatekeeper. Mindfulness is that observant mind that is able to see in every present moment what is there and what is not there. Yeah. So that mindfulness is one of the factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, and mindfulness element is the one that remembers there is craving in the moment, and there is no craving in any moment. So that mindfulness element is the one that is able to do that sort of every moment to investigate that. Yeah, there is a craving present in my mind. There is no craving present in my mind. That mindfulness is when it is slightly weakened, then people all of a sudden, I missed this part. I didn't see this coming. I only saw this big, but I didn't see it when it started to pick it up. So that kind of distracting thoughts, that kind of craving, amplifying to a certain size is what this arising of craving is evident by the training of mind and how sharp the mindfulness is. Yeah. So mindfulness is not the full story. Mindfulness is supported by what is called the noble right effort. And our practice in our 6 hour practice recognize is the right mindfulness. Mindfulness is the first element. Release is our right intention. Release the unwholesome. Then we have got the relax is what is called the calming the formation. That is the path to the noble eightfold path. That is the calming of the formation in its nutshell. So all these factors they will lead to the calming of the formation. Yeah. So then we have got this relaxation, and then we have resmiling. Resmiling, what it does is it does other aspect of the right effort. It does let go of. So right effort has got two elements. It is the letting go of the unwholesome and bringing up the wholesome. Resmile brings the wholesome, the bright and light part of the mind that is not attached, that is not uh, preoccupied. So that is resmiling is going to uplift and bring the wholesome state of mind. So that 6 hour process, after resmile, you return to your loving kindness, which is again bringing the wholesome, and repeat this process whenever mind is distracted. Yeah. So this is how our practice is it's very similar to any laboratory experiment, call it quantum processing, or somebody is doing laser experiment with the laser precision laser technologies. They are measuring the micromillimeter, a very extremely fine measurements they are doing. So that means they have to be very observant. They must be very sharp. They must be very focused. They must be dedicated. So that is how they manage to unravel the very important discoveries, and they find um, in scientific front all these important discoveries like lasers, transistors, quantum encryption, that kind of all these groundbreaking inventions, discoveries have been made possible because of this diligent mind, very observant scientists or experimenters being able to pick up that sort of observation at the right time and making that sort of decision to capture that sort of snapshot or whatever reports, to be able to analyze and find a pattern. Yeah, find that sort of formulas. In a similar manner, our discovery of how this craving arises is a very similar process. Is that our mind is our mind and the mind of the Buddha, mind of his disciples, those Arhat disciples, were extremely sharp. Yeah. So Buddha said in suttas is that uh, those who have achieved the state of purity, the utmost purity of those arhats and Buddhas, their mind is 100% mindful. Yeah, they know each and every phenomena as they arise. So they don't have any lapse in mindfulness. They are always mindful of whatever happening, yeah, in the mind. So it's not the case of that. Those arhats are that they are not completely clairvoyant, or they know every situation, like they can avoid the dangers. They can miss, they can avoid being hit by missiles. No, it's not that. They can see if there is any unwholesome state of mind, or there is any wholesome state of mind. They can pick up at the root. They can see where is that craving started to manifest. And their mind is so sharp that that craving does not even materialize. That craving is abandoned at the root. That is what the state of Arahut are, is they don't have any craving. They are simply, there is no craving in their mind at all. Yeah. So, and obviously we are not at that level, and at least we are waking up a bit late. Yeah. So that means Buddha and Arahats, they are awake all the time, and they can always see. But for us, we are not awake. We are still yeah, we are daydreaming for some time, and we pick up this sort of eventualities after some time, after a few seconds, after a minute, after 10 minutes. What was that? Why didn't I see that? It's like this. Yeah, we just wake up later. Yeah. Although we are kind of we are mindful. This is the process of what was that? What did I miss? And what was the part that was missing? And craving doesn't come as a single process. Craving is not like a throwing a ball and a ball bounce back. Craving comes in a series of phenomena, and I mentioned about the chain of phenomena. There is ignorance. You don't know what you are doing. Because you don't know what you're doing, you have started to act blindly. You didn't know what to do. You either misspoke, you misthought, or you misperceive. These are what is called sankharas. Yeah. So the sankhara is misalignment with the reality. You misaligned because you didn't know. You missed that point and you did something wrong. Yeah. Because of that, you started to uh, that means you know this is apple, this is orange. You start to discriminate. You start to project rather than allow everything to be. You said this is this and this is that. That kind of projecting mind is what is called consciousness. and on all these processes, and then you will, in all these processes are supported by craving. Yeah. So Buddhas call this process called dependent origination. In Pali, it is called paticca samuppada. That means man is constantly in this sort of daydream. Mind is doesn't know what to do, and it is doing this sort of processes to lead to rebirth again and again, again and again. Birth, die, taking rebirth, dying, taking rebirth and dying. So birth and death does not occur every lifetime. It occurs every moment. We are being born and we are dying in each present moment. In each present moment, we have got ignorance. We didn't know what to do. And we were doing that all sort of things through body, speech, and mind. And we were reborn and we were dying. So birth and death is occurring every moment. Yeah. So this process is continuing at the very, very, let's say, extremely fast. So fast that is unfathomable. Yeah. And this is why Buddha says this process is how can you break free of this process? You simply were missing the point. You don't know what is happening. How can you correct yourself? Yeah. And this is how subtle. This is how extremely persistent this birth and death and this trap of suffering, how vicious, how precarious this life is. And whatever is not only human existence, whatever existence there you can see of, there are 31 planes of existence. Buddha, in many suttas, Buddha says that there are 31 planes of existence. Human is just one plane. There are 16 planes of existence above the human, and there are 14 planes below the human. Those 14 planes are animal, hungry ghost, hell realms, and different categories of hell existences are below the human. And above the human, there are existences of what is called the devas, or those beings that are above they are celestial beings. Yeah, they are they are they are above the uh, human categories, and there are six different heavens. Those devas are resident in those six different heavens. Above those six heavens, there are eight different, what is called the Brahma Loka. It's called Brahma Lokas. And these are connected with the jhana experience. So when you experience the first jhana, you are in part of that Brahma Loka. Yeah. So if you can just manage to experience jhana in this life, that if you do not progress any further, then your rebirth will happen in that Brahma Loka. Yeah. And that is what the people who do not know the Buddha's teaching about this dependent origination, the Four Noble Truths, and this is the purification of mind, they will land into the Brahmalokas. Yeah. But those who know this Buddha's path in a detail, in greater detail, they will not go into Brahmarogas. They will go to the ending of the suffering. They will learn, they will experience what is called the Nibbana Dhatu. Yeah? That is the dimension of being freedom from all suffering. So this is how, various existences and that craving that are all linked to these experiences. Yeah. So ignorance, feeling, perception, clinging, craving, birth in various realms and death. All these 31 planes of existences, they all have the birth and death cycle. Yeah. Those beings in those 31 planes of existences, they must die. There's no way. They cannot avoid death. Yeah. Only existence, only experience that is free from death, that is free from birth, is the state of Nibbana. And that is what practice, this practice of in a siksar, this practice of Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, leads us to that sort of dimension of freedom from all suffering. Never have to die again. Never have to be reborn again. Never have to be suffering again. Never have to be feeling the hunger again. Never have to be feeling the pain again. So imagine that situation. Do you want to find that freedom? Or you want to get stuck in this cycle of having to have this body, having to live with the fight with the cancer, having to be reborn and re-dying, facing that sort of a earthquake and disasters, facing that sort of atomic destructions, fire burning your house, and all this sort of storms and that sort of debacles uh, coming and snatching your life out of nowhere. Yeah. Many eventualities make this existence in the earth or anywhere in this universe not a safe existence. Yeah. We can all see that. So being free from all these destinies by knowing and seeing this path and practicing diligently is a real opportunity that we only humans can do. Yeah. Those in animal, your pets, your cattles, your horses, or beings in hungry ghost realm, beings in the hell realm, or even the beings in the celestial heavens, they cannot practice Buddha's path. Yeah. They simply do not have the ear faculty to listen to this Dhamma, yeah, to listen to this, how to practice. They are even those in higher realms, they are way too negligent. They are way too uh, immersed. They are way too uh, heedless. Yeah, because they are in a luxury. They are in a pleasure. They are so much in pleasure that they don't even think that there is such a thing called suffering. So you see, none of the realm anywhere above and below, those beings have got the ability to practice and be free of suffering. And this human existence, we didn't have much time. We only got how many years? 30 years, 40 years? Or maybe less, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? So after this is gone, you don't know where you're going to land, yeah? You don't know. Maybe what you've done in this life could drag you to the lower realm, in animal realm or in a hell realm. You don't know, yeah, what is going to happen after this life. So can you take such a risk of not finishing your practice at least to the level of sotapanna or stream entry? We need to cement that. We need to unlock that fruition into sotapanna or what is called stream entry. Once you have unlocked that stream entry, which is the entry to know to Nibbana dhatu, then you can at least take what is called slow boat out of samsara. That means you are destined to be free of suffering in few more lifetimes. That's it. Yeah. So this is how this craving is the substance that will drag us in this all these 31 planes of existences where birth and death and all the suffering will always catch up and we will drag us in this sort of existential boundary. And the fuel for that is craving. As long as you have not uprooted this craving for good, you are bound to come back again and again in these existences. So, and what is the way to be free of craving? We are not talking about the craving in a big craving for food, craving for that. We are talking about the subtlest craving, that manifestation of a seed of craving. How to see that, how to reduce that craving, make it smaller and smaller and smaller to the point of it being completely disappearing. That is how the process of craving is put into to an end. So, and Buddha compared this craving to like a heat, yeah. And I have all mentioned that it's a state of mind that is hot, that is not cool, a state of mind that has got a fire. And what is that fire? That fire is the craving. I like it, I don't like it, I don't care. That mind has got a fire. And that fire is the subtlest reaction to that phenomenon. Why this? Why in the bliss of jhana, I am in this bliss of jhana? Why this flickering? Why mind is not settled? You see that in a very, very fine wobbling of your mind and you don't like it. That craving is what is going to propel and make your existence. It will bring you back to the, I mean, if you have not abandoned that craving and if you allow it to continue, then eventually that craving will become agitation, obsession, violence. That means as long as you have not extinguished the fire, that fire can burn the entire city, entire country or continent. If you have preserved that fire, no matter how small, that has got the potential to bring the entire continent. Yeah. In a similar manner, this craving must be extinguished, and that fire of craving is what we see in the mind. And the way to abandon them is by using the Noble Eightfold Path, and I gave the process of what is 6R, how the 6R embeds these factors of the Noble Eightfold Path of abandoning, which is the right intention, the right effort, which is the wholesome and unwholesome, making sure that unwholesome is abandoned and wholesome is kept, and bringing us a smile and a relaxation. Yeah, those elements will unify the mind. It will abandon all the grosser hindrances and bring the mind to such equilibrium. Mind becomes like a still lake, just no ripples. All these are the craving that are the ripples become smoother and smoother. So the more you back off, the more you relax, the more you stay away from being too much attentive to those phenomena, the peaceful the mind become, the less ripple, the craving will be less and less. Yeah. That is how you know mind is at extreme peace. Mind is extremely comfortable. You know this is you are doing something right, and mind is at such ease. All this joy and a bliss of jhana, just a bonus. Yeah. Just it's just a bonus. It's something that comes for free when you are in such a peaceful state of mind. So it is a far greater joy and bliss than having to eat a five-star dinner or luxury car. This bliss of freedom of mind is what is called it's a nutrition, it's a food for those meditators who uh, who are kind of who have abandoned this unwholesome state. It's what the Buddha call, it's a pure, it's a it's a pristine, it's a pure happiness where this unwholesome, there are no traces of greed, hatred, and delusion. These are the purely wholesome bliss, pure pleasure without any traces of craving. Yeah. So that is why it's very, very important that whenever you are in the subtle state of jhana, you don't even crave for jhana. Allow the jhana to be. Even jhana arises, you stay in the comfort of bliss of jhana. Don't even indulge in the jhana. Let the jhana be. Yeah, allow everything to be. Just do not interfere with the process. That is how you allow this craving to diminish bit by bit. Because any kind of attempt, any engagement, any kind of effort to arouse will backfire. If you start to make the jhana bigger, jhana will disappear immediately. Yeah. So no, you don't be attached to the jhana. That is how if you start to do that, it will start to wobble. That means it's like a chasing a mirage. You tried, oh, I want to enjoy this jhana, and the exact opposite happens. Yeah. So this is the state of mind. Mind is very, very illusory. Mind is very slippery. Mind is very cunning. Yeah. And this is the process we directly see. And craving firsthand. You know how the cravings ceased and what caused the craving to cease. Your backing off, your relaxation, your ease, your non non-engagement, the state of independence, state of maintaining a distance. Maintaining a distance is what makes this process, this oscillation, all this craving, that's a vibration, to smooth out. Yeah. So you know this process, how they cease. And you can do this process the opposite. Now, if you are in a very, very good state of blissful state of jhana, now you can distort that experience immediately. Test it yourself. You are in the state and you start to throw some intention, throw some thoughts there. I don't like this. What is happening here? And you started to just poke a little bit, to, to, to watch it bit close and try to arouse a little bit. As soon as you start to do that, your mind start to wobble. Yeah, it becomes very, very. It start to wobble. It was very, very tiny flicker, and because you wanted, you were so curious, you wanted to bring it up, you wanted to enjoy it more, you were obsessed. There you go. You started to proliferate. That is how craving will magnify, it becomes amplified, it becomes bigger. So you see the process of arising of the craving. From nothing, it becomes a panic mode, it becomes an emergency. And forget about jhana. Your jhana will disappear immediately. Yeah. So you see, from no craving state, you end up with restless state. You know it for self. Yeah. So because you intentionally arouse them, you saw this how this process works. Yeah. Those people who have not done any practice of meditation, they simply have no clue how the mind goes into the restless state, how the mind is agitated, how the mind is anxious, why somebody is angry. They have no clue because they don't know how the mind works. And that is why those who practice this path, they know up close and personal, this is exactly how mind works. Your intention, your attention, your reaction, intention is part of what is called namarupa, and your intention and attention is part of your namarupa, and your reaction is part of your craving. And you can, when these are put together, then mind will start to become discriminate that I like it, I don't like it, this is hot, this is cold, I am frustrated, I'm feeling the warm body. That is all consciousness. Yeah. So you already saw the process. There is nothing mysterious about this dependent origination. You saw this process already. You saw the intention, you started to arouse some intention, and you paid attention. You saw the awareness arising, and you started discriminate this and that. I like it, I don't like it. There is a craving there. All these processes are already there. So now, dependent origination is the what is called precise mechanism or the DNA of your mind. Yeah. So only Buddhas discover this process. Yeah. And this is not about the philosophy. This is not about showing that sort of round chart of and showing this in a. I have seen this in Buddhist temples in Nepal. They so there's in ignorance is in the middle circle, then outer circle is craving, the outer circle is in Namarupa, and they make it very, very complex, complicated chart of dependent origination. All they are doing is they are conceptualizing as if the mind works in this sort of in a circle of this concentric circle. Those people who has not experienced the how the craving arises, how the craving ceases, through this in a simple process, they don't need all this complicated chart to show that oh, this is the birth and this is death. Now the birth will bring it death and death will start to become ignorance. They are just linking this in their conceptual, all this kind of very fancy way of trying to complicate the simple process, making it extremely complicated and spook the people away. And although they use that as a tool to say, oh, I'm very smart. Look, I can understand dependent origination. You don't. This is complete nonsense. That kind of teaching is not practical. And that is what we don't follow that kind of practice. We see this process in front of our mind. Our mind is a very sophisticated lab, and we test everything directly. How craving arose, what led it to craving to amplify, become bigger and bigger. You test it within a few seconds, you can see that. You were in a so blissful, comfortable state of jhana. Now you are restless. That's it. You saw how the craving arose. Now you can do the practice and you calm your mind, you relax, you siksar, you bring the wholesome, you bring the loving kindness, settle the mind, and mind is unifies, become very, very comfortable, very, very much at ease. That's it. Jhana is as soon as the mind has been comfortable and at ease, jhana arises immediately. Jhana is the state of when the hindrances disappear, you will unravel the jhana. That's it. It's not the jhana will pop out of something. When this state of mind the hindrances have been abandoned, you discover there is a jhana. That is how abandoning of craving occurs, and you can go back to square one by coming back to the same agitated state. When you start to desire more, when you start to crave for more, when you start to engage and take those matter personally, or in each of these phenomena, none of these phenomena are personal. And our mistake is to treat those things as something personal. This is me, this is mine. I am this consciousness. I am this intention. I am this feeling. I am this craving. As soon as you said, I am that, then you start to say, if I am that, why it is not becoming peaceful? I wanted it to become peaceful. As soon as you start to do, I want this, I want to be like that, it will just happen the opposite way. Buddha said that. So you need to relax. You need to abandon. That is the only way to be free of any kind of imagination, agitation, and so on. So that is how I see this craving do arise, and I already covered how they cease. And whenever this craving ceases to such an extent, jhana is just, you will see the jhana arising, a state of peace and tranquility. The bliss of jhana just shows itself up. Yeah, you don't need to do anything. So this is how we uncover this path directly. This is not the philosophy. This is not the theory. This is a direct experience. And I didn't need to read any book, any kind of philosophies to explain what I've seen, just described. Whatever I have seen, you can see it yourself. I don't need to tell you exactly how it works in your mind. You can test it yourself. Whatever I just mentioned, just practice, bring your loving kindness, and do the 6 hour. All that I said, you will know firsthand. Yeah. So this is how I see this question of how the craving arises. Uh, will is going to be answered practically through the meditation and through the direct experience. Okay, hope this has been useful to you. I would like to make a stop here. Thank you very much.